Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name is Bubba, and welcome back to another insane story. Well, actually, this story is really disgusting, but I had to tell it because, honestly, my friend reminded me of this time from back when I was in high school. And it's so funny to me how he remembers it, but at the same time, to this day, he still gets sick to his stomach because I did this. And it made me realize how some girls out there could be some weird people, man. Like, seriously. Like, don't get me wrong. I understand that people have kinks and stuff, and kinks are like a normal thing that like every person has. If you guys don't know what a kink is, basically, it's like when a certain kind of person, I guess, is interested in a certain thing that makes them feel aroused. I think that's the most mature way of me saying it. And basically, I'm not gonna lie, a lot of people have it different ways. For example, for me, I love uniforms. Like, if a girl's in uniform, I'm not gonna lie, it's really hot. Like, for example, one time I remember I got pulled over by a cop that was a girl, and well, she was really attractive because she was in uniform. Funny enough, that is a story on my channel, so if you guys want to go check that out, you can. But anyways, going on with this story, I remember one time when I was in high school, I was basically walking down my school hallway, and basically, I remember there was one girl in our school who was basically, I think, Latina. And if you guys don't know, some Latinas are fine as whoa, dude. Like, seriously, like, it makes me, every time I see one that looks really hot, want to do the devil's tango. Like, holy cow. She was really attractive, and I remember I saw her down the hallway, and there was no way I actually recognized her, or she recognized me, because, well, I don't think she's ever been in the school before. Because I remember when she came into the school, she was looking around as if she had no idea where she was going. So as I'm there, you know, just chilling there, I'm like, hey, I'm a good Samaritan. Why not walk to the hot girl and say hello? So I remember I walked up to her with my, you know, my F-boy kind of act that I was gonna pull along, and walk up to her saying, hey, like, how you doing? I remember she looks at me, she's like, oh, like, hi, like, how are you? And I remember I looked at her, I'm like, yo, so, like, just wondering, like, what you doing here? What you up to? You know, like, do you need help? Are you new at the school? She's like, oh, like, I am actually, like, new to the school, but, like, I'm looking for my friends. I don't know where they are. Do you know, like, where, like, class 32B is? I remember I looked at her kind of odd, and I'm like, I think so. And I looked at her phone, and I saw my buddy's name that was already on her phone. I'm just gonna say this now for the sake of the story. We're just gonna call this guy Ryan, okay? My buddy's name is Ryan in the story. It's not actually his name, but we're just gonna say it for the story, okay? Anyways, going on with the story, I remember I said, oh, like, that's my buddy Ryan. Like, are you, like, friends with him? And I remember this girl looks at me. She's like, oh, like, yeah, like, me and him are, like, talking, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of weird. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, you know what? Let me just show you where he is at. So I remember I ended up taking this girl up to the classroom that he was in. And I remember my buddy Ryan was looking through the window because this girl texted him saying that this guy's helping her. And basically, Ryan ended up seeing me out the window and started worrying, but at the same time was kind of happy that his Latina chick was there. And then I remember he ended up putting his hand up to say he has to go to the bathroom when in reality he actually doesn't. He just wants to go see this chick. So he ends up leaving the classroom. When he leaves the classroom, he instantly gives this Latina girl a hug. And in me, in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm just sitting there going, wow, okay, cool. So Ryan's seeing this girl. Nice. Okay, well, that means my job's done. I'm not gonna hit on her because she's, you know, already talking to one of the boys. Oh, obviously, if you guys know the bro code, you guys know if one of your homies is talking to a girl, you have no rights and you have no way allowed to raise up that girl because that is, you know, severely just wrong. So I remember I basically said, all right, well, I'm a dip. And I ended up dabbing up my boy Ryan, and my boy Ryan says thank you, and I ended up leaving. Later on throughout the school day, I remember I kept thinking about how hot that Latina girl was, but something seems really off. Because you guys gotta understand, if a girl's really, really hot, she is a certain amount of crazy. That is most chicks nowadays. Like, if there's a girl that's like a 10 out of 10, like super hot, like Kim Kardashian, for example. She's hot, but she's crazy. You know what I mean? Like, it's a science, okay? It's a typical science that everyone needs to understand. So in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, like, that girl's really hot. I wonder what's wrong with her, you know? Because that's like a usual instinct I usually had back in high school. So I remember that day I ended up going home and I ended up hopping on my Xbox. And when I did, I remember I saw Ryan on, and I'm like, oh, shoot, Ryan's not hanging out with this girl. All right, well, you know what? I'm gonna hit him up and see what's going on. So I remember I ended up hitting him up, and I basically, you know, added him to the Xbox party, and we started talking. He started telling me how this girl was like really hot, and he was like trying to get into her and stuff and all this stuff. But then I remember when he took her home that day, things weren't going good, and he didn't want to explain to me because he felt really embarrassed. I remember I kept talking to him saying, bro, like, why didn't you talk to her? Like, was she like weird and stuff? And I remember he said, nah, dude, she's just like really weird in bed. Like, you know, when I was doing the devil's tango with her, like, I'm not gonna lie, bro, it kind of just grossed me out. I remember when he said that, I was really confused. So I remember I looked at him saying, what do you mean? Like, is she like overweight? Is she fat? Like, you know, is there something like off about her? I basically just started asking like the usual questions of why this guy would not be attracted to her, because when I saw her, she looked really hot. I remember he ended up saying, bro, I'm gonna be honest, man, like, she's just weird like that, I guess. I don't know, she's just weird. I'm not gonna say anything, you know? And we ended up just playing a game. Now, knowing this, Ryan was definitely embarrassed about something, but I wasn't sure what. So I remember I basically decided to take things into my own hands and figure this out. So I remember I ended up asking him before we got off saying, yo, bro, if you're not gonna talk to this girl anymore, like, I mean, can I hit her up? I'm just curious. Like, you know, she's kind of hot. I remember Ryan literally started laughing, saying, bro, you want to talk to her? Go for it. And he ended up giving me her Snapchat. Now, once I got her Snapchat, I remember adding her, and she instantly added me back and snapped me saying, who's this? And I ended up saying, oh, I was the guy who like helped you out and stuff. And then basically, I remember she started saying, oh, you're the cute guy from the school that helped me out. And when she put the word cute in there, I knew I was already in. That means she was already thinking about me. You know what I mean? Like, damn, like, all right, bet. Like, I'm already in, you know? Might as well talk to the girl. So I start talking to her and stuff, and then she starts explaining how, like, a lot of stuff happened. And one thing I realized that girls talk. Boys, understand this, and women, you can vouch down in the comments if this is a true fact or not. Girls talk a lot. When they have something to rant about, when they have something to say, let them speak it. Even though maybe 80% of the time not even correct and half of the time doesn't really make sense, let them still speak because you never know what's gonna happen at the end of it. Anyways, I remember I was basically talking to this girl, and this girl was talking to me, and we started talking back and forth and stuff, and then she ended up wanting to FaceTime me that night because she said she had a lot to talk about. And then when I FaceTimed her because her day was going bad, she was telling me how basically Ryan basically had a bad time with her and basically got embarrassed about Ryan. I have no idea why. She didn't give me exact details, but I remember I told her, nah, man, if me and you were to do the devil's tango, I would legit do everything to you. I remember when I said this, it was instant regret, but at the same time, when I looked at her face over FaceTime, her eyes grew wider than the Grinch finding out about Christmas. Like, I'm not joking when I say this. This girl, she had some big brain idea. So instantly when I said that, she told me, oh yeah, then just come over now then. I remember I looked at her and I'm like, dude, it's like 10 at night. And she's like, just come over. Like, why not? Like, you got nothing to do. Like, school's not tomorrow anyway. It's Friday. And I remember she had a point, and I'm like, all right, like, I mean, I could come over if you want. And she just kept telling me, yeah, just come over. Like, literally just come over right now. Here, I'll send you my address like right now. And when she sent me her address, she was only a 10-minute drive away. So at this point, it was kind of worth it, but at the same time, kind of not. But at the same time, my boy Ryan did not want to talk to her anymore. So, you know, I wasn't breaking the bro code or anything, so might as well. I basically start getting ready, pack my things, and instantly went over to her house. When I got there, nobody was home at her place. She literally opened the door wide open for me at the front entrance, took me upstairs, and instantly she was like, so you're gonna like stay the night, right? And I'm like, yeah. And then me and her, we instantly get to doing the devil's tango. Like, we were going at it almost all night. But then I want to say towards the end of like the whole devil's tango, this chick out of nowhere decides to literally, like, for some reason, I don't know why she did this. She went down to like my face, and basically like she went from like flipping her whole body around on the bed. I don't know how to explain it. It was weird. But basically her feet and my feet were connected to each other's faces. If that makes sense, basically I was looking at her feet and she was looking at my feet. And basically she started literally sucking on my toes. And you know, this sounds really weird to say, and YouTube, don't demonetize me, but basically I didn't know what to do. So I basically started flossing her toes with my finger. It sounds really weird, I know, but you know what? It's whatever. And then afterwards she was like, are you not gonna suck it? As my toe is literally in her mouth. And I'm like, I mean, I don't really swing like that, is what I told her. And then she instantly starts basically kicking her foot into my mouth, and I ended up sucking her toes. Yeah, I was basically forced to suck a girl's toes. And don't get me wrong, my feet were disgusted ever since. Like, if you guys know me, you guys gotta know I wear socks 24/7. All right, so my feet are never out. But for this girl to take off my socks and literally start sucking my toes and makes me suck her toes, we're basically in a 69 position, but for toes. Like, it was gross, dude. I didn't know what to say. So I remember I was so disgusted. I'm like, okay, you know what? This is just weird. So I remember I basically start twisting her body around. I basically go back to making out with her. But to know that her mouth literally just sucked my toes was the grossest thing ever. So I just backed off, and I just said, like, you know, yo, I'm kind of like not in the mood anymore and stuff like that. And then she literally has the audacity to say this right after, saying, oh my God, like, you and your boy Ryan literally did the exact same thing to me. Like, what is wrong with you? You guys say you guys were down for anything, and you guys don't end up doing anything. What is what I told her? Bro, at this point, I'm so grossed out, and I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm done. Like, I need a dip. I'm done with this. So I ended up leaving, and I basically ended up going back to my car, and I basically ended up going home. And then right then and there, my boy Ryan texts me in the middle of like 3 a.m. saying, bro, I told you wouldn't be able to do it. And he starts laughing, and he ends up saying, I won't tell anybody if you don't. And I basically said I wouldn't tell anybody. And from then on out, we basically been toe-sucking buddies ever since. Yeah, kind of weird to say, but it is what it is. Anyways, guys, that's basically it for today's story. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And like I always say, follow for more embarrassing stories. Peace out, guys. Okay, so everyone has like a fetish, and I understand that. Like, don't get me wrong, some people like veiny arms. I know that was a trend for a bit, and I know some people enjoy like facial hair. Like, I don't know, everyone has like a weird kink in this generation. Like, for God's sakes, we literally have furries in this damn world. I think I've told you guys about the furry a long time ago, but this story I'm about to tell you guys is honestly borderline insane. And let's just say I ended up seeing a chick, and let's just say getting my toes sucked on. The way this story ended up happening was honestly insane. But before anything, make sure you guys do leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Seriously, I always tell these crazy stories. And on top of that, I am currently live on Twitch. So if you guys do want to watch me live and telling these crazy stories to you guys live in the chat, you guys can do that. Link in the description down below. But other than that, let's get straight into this crazy story. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name is Bubba and welcome back to an insane story. So this story starts off back, funny enough, the year right after high school. I was, funny enough, I think 18 turning 19 this year, and I was just kind of having a good time. And I remember one time I decided to take a vacation and go to LA. And if you guys don't know, LA is where dreams happen, and me being 19, I've always wanted to go to LA because that's where, you know, celebrities are made. And me having a dream of becoming a big YouTuber one day and all this stuff, you know, I thought LA would be a cool place to, you know, kind of get ideas for what I could be. Did I ever think I was gonna be a storyteller telling about all my embarrassing stories and doing the devil's tango? Well, no, I'm gonna be honest. No, not at all. But anyways, things happen. Going on, I remember I went down to LA, and I remember I was just kind of going around hanging out with some friends. I went with a group of friends to LA, and it was actually not a bad time. And I remember as I was there walking around, meeting people and, you know, enjoying the time of my life, I remember I ended up going to this house party that had a bunch of other people that I didn't know of, but let's just say a popular friend of mine was going to. I ended up going up to him saying, yo, bro, like, so you're just gonna leave the Airbnb and go to this party? And he looks over at me. He's like, yeah, dude, like, it's LA, man. Like, you just gotta go and, like, enjoy the women out there and just gotta enjoy life. Me in my head, I'm thinking, okay, like, sure, like, why not? Like, sure, let's just enjoy life, whatever that means. I don't know. He sounded like a total damn hipster. And me not knowing what was going on, I kind of, like, told him, like, dude, like, are you sure you don't want me, like, just go with you? Like, you know, I'll be, like, a safety precaution. He looks at me and he's like, yeah, dude, like, I could definitely use the company. Like, we should definitely go. And me and him, we ended up kind of planning our day. We ended up going to a restaurant at first, you know, meet everyone because everyone was meeting at a restaurant and then going to the place. I don't know. LA has like this form of like rich people status. So, you know, if you go to a fancy restaurant and go to a party after, you're like rich or something. I have no idea, to be honest. Like I said, I'm just a basic Canadian boy in Vancouver. Anyways, like I was saying though, I remember we went to that restaurant. As we got there, we started meeting a bunch of the people. There's a lot of pretty girls there. I gotta say, there's definitely more girls than guys there. So you already know it was gonna be a good party. Any party with more girls than guys is better because that means it's not a sausage fest, and no one wants a sausage fest unless you like sausages and eggplants and anything wiener shaped. Wait, what am I going with this? Going on. I remember as we, like, you know, sat down at the table and we started meeting everybody, I remember I was looking at these two girls, and these two girls, they were kind of like eyeing me down, but at the same time, like, they were kind of like, oh my goodness, like, look at you. And I kind of like looked over, I'm like, oh, hi, like, nice to meet you. Like, I was just being a nice person, you know, being the average person. And then, I don't know, for some reason, these girls decided to sit right beside me, and they look at me and they're like, so, like, you're from, like, Canada? First off, never call a Canadian Canada. Like, Canada? Really? It's Canada. It's not impossible. Anyways, I'm all weirded out and I'm like, yeah, I'm Canadian. Like, what's going on? And after that, they look at me and they're like, can you say sorry? Sorry. They meant me, they wanted me to say sorry. I don't know. I guess Canadians say words differently, like a boot and sorry, beanbag. I don't know. We say different words in different ways. And I remember as these girls were excited about my accent, I remember looking at my friend and he's like, you know, basically doing the same thing with another group of girls. Later on, I remember we ate food and, you know, these girls were asking me questions about Canada. They were asking me questions about me. And then they asked me a really weird question that I never understood why they asked me this. But they asked me, so, like, do you guys, like, have, like, weird kinks in Canada? What? I was not going to speak for all of Canada to know what our kinks are. Like, we're not that much different than you Americans. And I look over and I'm like, I mean, like, you know, everyone has different kinks. Me, I got my own. Everyone's got their own. It's not very different compared to all of us. She looks at me and starts smiling and giggling. And, like, she, like, starts looking at her friend. She's like, oh my goodness, like, he has kinks. And I start kind of getting weirded out. Anyways, after the dinner, I remember we ended up going to this house party. We all drove there in different vehicles. And then we got there. And when we got there, I remember people started bringing out the alcohol and we started doing crazy stuff. Reminder, drinking age in America is 21. So don't underage drink. Here in Canada, the legal age is 19, at least where I'm at. So I was able to drink and I know how to drink. But just saying this right now, do not underage drink. I don't care how cool you high schooler think you are. You guys are not cool drinking. I'm sorry to break it to you. I don't want to see a 12-year-old holding a bottle being like, I'm wasted. Like, no, it's cringe. Stop it. Get a life. Call your mom. Bang your mom. I mean, I'll do that. Never mind. Going on. I remember as we were like all drinking, having fun, these two girls that originally talked to me in the restaurant were talking to me the entire night. I remember we ended up going into the hot tub that was in the back and we sat down in the hot tub and we started like, you know, all talking. These girls were in like really tight bikinis and I remember I was kind of like about to get into the pool. Now, I'm going to be honest, and this is a secret I never tell anyone, okay? I never take my socks off. Like, no joke. I don't even think my closest friends know this about me. I never take off my socks. The only time I do is when I go into the shower or go into the pool. So like my feet are like white. Like they are bare white. They're clean feet. And let's just say they never even touched my own home floor. That's how clean my feet are. And that's how pale my feet are. They've always been concealed in a sock. I know, kind of weird talking about my own feet here, but it goes along with the story. So just understand that. that. Anyways, I'm about to enter the hot tub, and as I'm taking off my socks, I remember these girls looked at me like there was no tomorrow. They looked at me and they're like, oh my goodness, like, have you never taken off your socks before? In a way, I looked at them all weirdly, and I'm like, what do you mean? And then they look at me and they're like, your feet are so pale. She came up to me in the middle of the hot tub and literally touched my foot. I don't know what these girls were thinking. I was grossed out. I'm like, whoa, relax, okay? Just relax. Afterwards, I got inside the hot tub and I, started sitting in there. And after that, these girls were talking to me. They're like, oh my goodness, so like, why do you always wear socks? And I told them about my traumatizing experience when I was a kid of why I always wear socks. If you guys do want that story, I'll maybe put it up one day. And basically, long story short, I remember after we were done with the hot tub, we got out of the hot tub and these girls were kind of like getting close to me. Now, obviously, me being me, I didn't want both girls. I'm gonna be honest. One of them was prettier than the other. That's the typical signs of every group friendship. There's always that one hotter person. So I started talking to her more and we started drinking more. And one thing led to another. She was fancying me to the point where we started making out. We started making out. She got close to me and stuff. And I remember me and her, we decided to go to a bedroom at this house party. Now, reminder, my friend, he was like around in the house party, but I think he was like in another room getting stoned out of his mind. So I really didn't care what he was doing. And me and this girl, we ended up going into a bedroom, and me and her, we ended up doing the devil's tango. But halfway through, for some damn reason, this girl decided to go down towards my feet and literally lick my foot. She licked it, and I look at her and I'm like, okay, this is really weird. And then she ends up putting my big toe in her mouth. What the absolute what? Like, I don't even know at this point. I was grossed out. And I remember I literally moved back to like the corner of the bed and I'm like, okay, you need to stop. Like, no feet play. No. She looks at me all weird and she's like, why? Like, you literally have like such nice feet. And I'm like, no, I don't care what kinks you have. I don't want you touching my feet. That's final. I told her that in the most like angrily voice. And then she took it in a way where it was like role play. She's like, oh my goodness. Like, you want to like have like that kind of game, eh? She said, A. She said, A. That's my line. Okay. As a Canadian, okay, I don't want a girl with a foot fetish taking my line of saying A. So I remember I look at her and I'm like, listen, A, you got to stop. No, stop it. Just no. She kind of like looks at me all sad and stuff. And then I remember my friend walks into the room and he's like, what's going on? Oh my goodness. Are you guys like not wearing anything right now? I look over at my friend. I'm like, dude, you're crossed out of your mind. Get out of the room. He ends up just turning around and walking away. And yeah, he did end up seeing my eggplant. Funny enough, we don't talk about it to this day. And I remember I ended up getting changed. I got my clothes and I went back downstairs and I walked up to my friend and I'm like, dude, I want to get out of here. Me and him, we ended up calling an Uber and we ended up going home or back to the Airbnb that we originally went at. We met up with like the other friends. And I remember when we got back to the Airbnb, my friend looks at me. He's like, dude, like, why didn't you like that girl? Like, you usually always do the devil's tango. And I look at him and I'm like, dude, I don't want to talk about it. Until that day, I've been scarred for life. And I'm not gonna lie, I think that made me even want to wear socks even more to this day. Other than that though, that is basically it for the story. Make sure you guys do leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Seriously, it means a lot when you guys do. And on top of that, if you guys haven't already, I'm currently live on Twitch, so click the link down in the description below and watch me live. Other than that, like I always say, follow for more embarrassing stories. All right, peace out, guys.